So today I had my last day at Attest. Today's my last day at Attest. I obviously didn't expect it to be so soon. It's much sooner than I expected. I'm not going to film anything in the office today because I think that would be a bit rude given the circumstances. 3 months ago, I had my last day at Gray's. I worked there for 2 years as a software developer. I decided it was time to move on, so I handed in my notice. I worked through my 3-month notice period, and then I left to start a job at Attest. Attest is a much smaller company, about 15 people, and they're building a brand intelligence platform. So if you want to know what real people think of your brand, or you want some feedback on a new product or marketing idea from people in a particular demographic, then the product is great for that. You can be like, I want to target 18 to 24-year-olds in London who earn more than 30,000 and have a dog. And I was working on the back end of this whole platform. Before I go any further, I want to be clear that I'm not trying to paint Attest in a negative light. I haven't left because it was a bad place to work. I've left because the stage that the company is at was not quite right for me. I've learned a lot about what I want from a company, and this was perhaps not the most efficient way to learn that, but it's still very valuable. And I'm very grateful to Attest and everybody there for helping me figure this stuff out and being so understanding, because this situation is not ideal for me. It certainly wasn't ideal for them. Less than 3 months in, and I decided it wasn't right for me. But this is kind of what the probation period is for. The company evaluates me, I evaluate the company, we see if it's a good fit. If it is, then great. If it's not, it's a shame, but this happens sometimes. And I do appreciate that I'm in a very privileged position to be able to leave a job and look for something else when it's not quite right. But it's better for me to find a job that I'm really happy in, and better for the company to find somebody that's super passionate about working there. Otherwise, nobody really wins. However, I did think I would be staying there a little bit longer, if I'm honest. I've gone from raising some concerns with my manager to literally unemployed in 1 week. But I want to talk about why this hasn't worked out, what went wrong, and what I could have done to prevent this. So like I said, the stage of the company wasn't right for me, and what I mean by that is Attest is very small, 15 people, so really tiny compared to what I was used to. But they're not brand new, they've been around for a few years. And in that time they've built their core product, they've got a thing that works and customers use it. And now they're building that out into something bigger and better, but they're not building anything from scratch anymore. When I was looking for a job, I did want to go to a startup, but I was worried that in a startup it would be very stressful and I'd work very long hours. And I thought Attest would be a good compromise between that and having a better work-life balance. I think in terms of working hours that was the right decision. The compromise paid off, but the consequence is that you don't have a brand new product to work on anymore. You're working on a thing that somebody else has already built. And that's fine, but that's sometimes one of the things you want from a startup. You want something new that nobody's done before, you want to be in there first. I'll come back to some of the other things that I've learnt about small companies later on. I want to talk about the 5 things I was looking for in a job. In a previous video, I mentioned 5 key things which make a good job, and I want to go through each of them and see whether Attest achieved it, and if it did, what went wrong. The first was money. I did get paid more than I did at Gray's, so it ticked that box, that was fine. The second was learning, as in you want to learn new things every day, and I think at Attest, I was learning a lot of new stuff because it was a new job. Certainly more than I was towards the end of my time at Gray's. But in such a small team, there are fewer people to learn from, and there were only 2 other back-end developers, one of them working 4 days a week. And I just miss being surrounded by more people with more knowledge to share, more opinions, different experiences. When there's only 2 of you, you have to learn by doing a lot, and that's a great way to learn. It works really well for some people, but I just wasn't enjoying it as much, and I want to be part of a bigger team again. The third thing was making a difference. You don't want to feel like the work that you're doing is pointless, and I didn't feel like the work at Attest was pointless, but it's interesting because when you're in a smaller company, you're making a bigger difference to the team and a bigger difference to the company, but a smaller difference to the rest of the world, and that's a trade-off. It depends what you want. I think there's something a bit exciting about working for a big, well-known brand, knowing that the product you're helping to build is used by millions of people. I wasn't sure whether this mattered to me, but I think it does a bit. The fourth point was about finding the work interesting and enjoyable, and Attest was 50-50 here for me. It wasn't boring. There were interesting challenges and problems to solve, and I think the product is really good, but I just didn't quite feel a connection with it. And this is my fault. I knew what the product was before I started, and I maybe should have found something that better matched my own interests. The final point was having a good work-life balance. Like I said, I was hoping Attest would be a good compromise. I think it was, so this point was fine. I was working 9 to 6, but a lot of people would work longer than that. Obviously, if you want shorter hours, you can do better than that. You can work 9 to 5. On the other extreme, there are places where people will work like 11 hours a day and work is their life. It depends on the person, and it depends on the company, and it depends on the company's culture. And culture is one of the things that these 5 points don't really cover very well. The culture changes as a company grows, and what you get in a really small company is this feeling of everyone being in the same room, focused on the same thing with the same goal in mind. You can really get things done and make a difference. The downside of this is you have long days where not much really happens in the office. People are getting a lot of stuff done and achieving a lot, but everyone's sat with their headphones on, focused on their work. And for some people this is ideal. You can concentrate on a problem with no distractions, but I found it to be a little bit boring. Bigger companies, on the other hand, although they will eventually lose that entrepreneurial spirit, they have the ability to offer you more opportunities and more things to get involved with. My only experience of this is with Grays, but on top of having a bigger office with more people in it, more going on and a bit more noise, they had things like choir, yoga, fitness things. People would go running and cycling together and play different sports. There were baking competitions. There was a lot going on. And to some extent, the company can provide a lot of your social life. Somewhere like Attest can certainly do some of these things, but they're obviously very limited by the number of employees. It's not that they're doing anything wrong at all, it's just a different atmosphere you get from a smaller number of people. I've learned that I prefer a bigger company. I didn't know this, and it was something I wanted to find out. Could I have figured this out before taking the job? Possibly. I should have pushed more at the interview stage to find out what it's like to work there day to day. It is difficult to ask the right questions while you're having an interview, but it's very important. It's important for you, and it's important for the company to make sure they're finding somebody who's really going to enjoy working in that environment. One mistake I made was not seeing the Attest office before I took the job. I had my interview in a different meeting room in the WeWork building, but I didn't actually see Attest's own office. But I have enjoyed my 3 months there. It's just not what I want to continue doing for the long-term future. I have a much better idea now about what I am looking for. I still don't know what product I want to work on. It's not snacks in the post, and it's not surveys, but I'm going to spend the next few weeks looking for something new. I'll make some vlogs, I'll keep you updated. Thanks for watching.